Well, hello YouTube world. How are you? It's Sunday. It's 11:54 a.m. I don't know the date because my watch broke. And I'm on my phone and I didn't look before I got on. I think it's the 9th. I think it's the 9th. I think it's June 9th, 2024. Sorry, guys. Not what I'm really caring to think about right now. But it is Sunday, and so that's a good day. I got to wake up this morning and had a cup of coffee and watched Elevation and spent some time with God and did some worship and got myself all together and humanized myself the best that I could. I'm going to catch you guys up because I know that you are not all on my Facebook, and so there's been a lot that has been happening. But I am going forward knowing that God has everything. And so that's kind of where I'm at with my journey right now. For those of you that know, I got a job and I was working in a kitchen at a kids camp. I'm just going to give you a really quick thing because that's literally how it was. And you're going to ask me probably more questions, or you're going to have more questions in your head. And you're going to go, yeah, but did you do this? Or what about this? And at the end of it all those questions don't matter. Because God did something in it. And I believe that. And so I was doing part-time. As you guys know, I left the corporate world, and I was making really good money in the corporate world, and I was making really good money full-time in the corporate world. I then got a part-time job at a summer camp making a whole lot less money, and I was doing it part-time. And when I got the job, everything was going and things were smooth until I made the stupidity of driving in a flood and ruining my car. So then I was depending on transportation, which I had transportation and never missed a shift based off the transportation. I then got full-time because somebody got burnt at work and they burnt their foot. And so they then were out of work for a little while. And so then they said, can you work more hours? I'm like, yeah, absolutely, chef, no problem. Well, then the next day I got burnt at work. But it didn't look anything like this. It just looked red, like it, and I was like, I'm fine, no big deal. Everything is good. And we just kept working and we just kept going. No one asked me to fill out an incident report. Nobody said anything more, even after and I said, do I need to fill anything out? And they're like, no, you're all right. And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. And so I just kept working. Like I didn't think anything of it. Well, when I got home, it flared. It got way worse. It started peeling. Like it was a bad burn. It wasn't what I thought it was. I took some ointment. I did what I needed to do. It's starting to peel. It started to do what it needed to do. Well, I didn't sleep very well that night because I was in so much pain. I took ibuprofen. I tried to do what I could do, but it was a Saturday morning. And we already had pre-made sandwiches that were going for breakfast. It was the easiest breakfast. All they had to do was stick them in the oven and throw them in a bin. There was no prep work having to be done for breakfast. And then we had lunches where we had to make sandwiches. But he covered the other guy who was burnt with somebody else. And so I called my ride in the morning and I said to her, hey, I'm in a lot more pain with my burn than I thought I was going to be in. I really need to rest. And since I have tomorrow off, I wanted to take these next 2 days since breakfast is really easy. Am I really needed? And she's like, no. And I'm like, okay. She goes, take care of your arm. I said, okay. Well, then I messaged the head chef immediately saying, hey, this is what's going on, blah, blah. I get a call from him at like 10:30 in the morning, and he says, we're going to have to let you go because you don't have transportation and you called in within your first 30 days of working. And I go, you do realize that I burnt myself as well, right? And I sent him a picture of what I had. And he goes, oh, if I had gotten a burn every time, if I had gotten a nickel for every time I got burned or something along those, like a very sarcastic response. And I had never called in because of my transportation, so I couldn't quite understand why he was using that against me as well. And so I go, what is happening? And I had to be still, and I had to go, okay, God, show me what's happening in this. Well, from his perspective, I'm still trying to understand his perspective of that. And I go, maybe he didn't do what he was supposed to, and he didn't do a file report, and so he doesn't want to get in trouble, and so he's letting me go. Something in this whole process is missing, but I go, you know what? If I need to know, God will show me. And so I'm just being still in it, and I'm just kind of going, this is a big mega church, and this is supposed to be a Christian church, and you showed such great leadership, but then I saw a different side of that. And I go, was that sheep's and wolf's clothing as far as on a deeper level of leadership that I needed to understand in front of me? Or, you know, I go, or was I like cursed and there was like witchcraft against me and somebody was trying to hurt me and the spell? I can look at this in so many ways, you guys, and I just go, I don't know what God's doing. And so I have to be okay not knowing what God is doing. I now lost my job with no vehicle in the country. There's not public transportation out here. I left working from home jobs because I wanted to be around people more, and I wanted to start interacting more, and I go, okay, God, is that not what you wanted me to do? And now I might have to work from home in order to make money and isolate myself again? And I go, why? This doesn't make sense to me. But isn't that God? When you're trying to put pieces together and you don't have all the pieces yet, and so you're going, what is going on? And God's saying to you, I'll let you know when I need to know. I need you to trust me in this. So to some people, you look crazy. So they're going, God, this girl flips through jobs like a pancake. Like, you know, I know that's exactly what I feel like. I feel like I'm being tossed around, and I feel like this is happening and that's happening. And I feel like I'm out of control, yet I feel a lot of peace, and I don't feel out of control. And I think that that's the deciphering of looking at a circumstance in front of you in the 3D, but spiritually going higher, understanding God on a deeper level. Somehow inside of you, deeper, you know what's going on in the chaos, in the storm. That's where you become wiser. That's where you become grounded. That's where you become unshakable. Because no matter what it looks like in front of you, you know the future of that, because you know who God is, because you've cycled this before. You've been here before. So you go, okay, we're going to look at this differently. We're going to take this and we're going to go, what is God? We're going to have a different perspective. So you be still and you have a different perspective of all that, right? But I don't know the outcome. I don't know what's next for me. I don't know how I'm going to make the bills, how I'm going to make the rent, how I'm going to do this. All I know is what I can control. And everything in front of me, I have no control over. I have no control. I do not have the money to fix my car. I do not have the capability of taking it. I can drive it, I think, but I don't have the money for them to look at my car. So that is not my next step that God is asking me to do, because I don't have those tools. I don't have those resources to do this yet. So I go, okay, I'm not in control of that. So I'm not in control of my finances because I don't have a job if I go deeper in looking at this. I only have what's in my bank account right now. So I have to hold on to what's in my bank account because I don't know when the next finances are coming. But I have made an obligation to somebody on how I'm going to pay something, and I have to stick to that. And I have to hope that because I've made an obligation on one thing financially, that everything else financially God is going to provide. Because I have spoken a word about something to somebody, my integrity and my character is being questioned right now. Can I accomplish what I said? Well, that's being tested in my finances now, isn't it? a whole deeper level. People are only willing to help you for so much, but when you keep telling the same story over and over again and you aren't changing the cycle, you are looking unstable. You are looking like you're not doing it right. You understand that? But again, those are different people's perspectives of you. How you're seeing this is not the same way that somebody who's waiting to receive something from you is seeing it. So Elevation talked about forgiveness. So go deeper in your healing. What does that look like to you? Are you waiting? Are you the person waiting to receive something? And so from your perspective, you think you're entitled to that? Or you think you're owed that? You probably are. You most definitely probably are. But that's not their perspective. So can you let go? And can you forgive regardless of their opinion or their perspective or their outcome? Because that's between them and God. That is not our job to judge. It is not our job to fix. We did what God asked us to do in those moments. Not knowing what it was about, not knowing what it was going to look like, not understanding the perspective of that, not understanding. Are you guys starting to understand this? But you have to have a confidence in yourself to not care about the opinions of others around you. Lisa and John Bevere teach a class. There's a messenger app, and I believe that it's free. I remember when it was free, and I don't know if it's still free, and they have a bunch of classes. You guys, I learned a lot about a leadership. I learned a lot about being undercover, and I learned a lot of what that looks like from an offense and a bunch of classes from them. One of the classes I'd really like to recommend for you guys is the Beta Satan. And they have a newer version of it. There's a way old version when he's in a suit and this and that, but then they updated the version a little bit for this time and this era for you guys to understand it. And so there's a bunch of different versions, I think. I learned a lot, and there's a lot of things during these videos that John Bevere talks about, and he gives examples of other people's journeys and other people's testimonies that he learned along the way. And I mirror a lot of those testimonies I found. And I go, wow, I totally get that. Or I totally see that. In my perspective, in my circumstance, it's not mirrored as in the same way, but mirrored in a way that I can understand it. And I go, wow, that makes a lot of sense. You know what I mean? And I go, that I get. And I've watched Beta Satan 3 or 4 times, and it's like, you know, you have to keep taking the refresher, because when it's a new level and a new devil, you look at offense differently. And so just like when you read the Bible and the words jump off your page a little bit differently, isn't it the same thing when you watch a movie and you see something different that you didn't see before? I've talked about this in some of my videos before. And so you go back and you watch things because you're at a new level. You have a new devil in front of you. There's a difference in the perspective and how you see things because you're wiser, you've grown, you've learned. And so you can go back and see the pages of the Bible pop up a little bit differently. You can see it more spiritually. You can have a deeper understanding of those. And I post a lot of different things on my Facebook for different perspectives for people to see. But I continue to show Bible verses in other people's perspective. And I go, but I still see God. I still see this biblically. I still understand this. And I can dive into what people say is demonic or what people say is not true or what people say you shouldn't, because I'm protected. And as long as I focus on God and as long as I make it all about God, you can go into the devil's den because you have a different focus. You have a different way, a different perspective on how you're seeing it. You're not letting the devil win. You're not letting the devil lead. You're letting God lead. The devil has no foothold. You become a warrior. You put on the armor. You do what you need to do in your integrity and your character and in your righteousness. You lead when you need to lead and you follow when you need to follow. Isn't that relationships? You ask for help when you need help because you're not better than somebody else. And when somebody else needs your help, you help them because you now are in a position that you can do that and you've been where they are. And so you know what that's like and you know who they are. And you see them growing, you see them doing, you see them trying. And isn't that what we do for our children? They may fall. They may fall, but you help them in the best way that you can where you're at in your journey. And we don't have all the answers. We're not perfect. We didn't make amazing choices as parents. We didn't do everything right. We didn't know any better than what we knew. But we also have to take accountability and we have to take responsibility and we have to be able to look at what we have done in that. In our stubbornness and in our ego and in our wants. That we hurt other people along the way because we didn't know any better than what we were taught in our survival modes. Because we're all real good at being in survival mode. We're all real good at saying this is what strength looks like. We're all really good at standing in front of a camera or standing in front of a mirror or saying, we've got this. But inside is something completely different. And isn't that us putting on masks and not being vulnerable enough and not being truthful and not being honest at where we're at in our journeys? God is saying that if you don't share your journey, the good, the bad, and the ugly, then how are we supposed to save those that are doing good, bad, and ugly? Are they going backwards? Are we losing souls? Because they're going deeper into a hole. And are we too holy and are we too righteous to go into that deep, dark hole with them? No. We are just as screwed up as them, but in different ways. Different forms. There are people younger than me that are 10 bazillion times better with their money than I am. I can learn a thing or two from them and their generation, can't I? And then there are those that are older than me that get it and they go, I know, we've been here, we've done this. There's different perspectives on how you can see this, and then there's people going, I'm right here with you, girl, I'm just as broke as you, I totally get it. No matter how hard you try, you can't get out of it, right? Like it just keeps coming, and you're going, I don't know how much more I can take. I feel like I'm drowning, I'm feeling heavy, I'm feeling, you got your peeps. You got your people who relate to you and understand you and are just going, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep doing this. No matter what it looks like. I don't, feel like when I come on here, like I'm like a broken record, but I know at the same time I'm not, because we're going deeper, and the knowledge and the learning and the understanding is going deeper, and I just go, if you only knew who I was. None of this makes any sense to me. I'm not this smart. I make a lot of dumb decisions, and I make a lot of dumb choices, and I screwed up a lot. But I guess I'm learning the difference of having a free spirit. I guess that's the best way to look at it, being a wild child and being rebellious in an unhealthy way versus being rebellious and a wild child in a freeing way. And I don't know how else to explain that. But in the freeing way, it's God. I'm protected. I'm okay. I'm at peace. I know He's got this. I'm flowing with Him. When you're free and rebellious and you want to be in control, and you think you got it all, and you think you know it all, and in your stubbornness and in your ego, you get blocked every single time, and it just gets draining. It just gets tired, because the cycle is wrong. And it gets draining and it gets tired, but the cycle is different. Because instead of trying to control it when you're draining and you're tired, you just relax. And you just be still. And you just go, it is what it is. It's in the now. I can't do anything about it. So I'm not going to sit in my pity party trying to think of all the ways. Because no matter what perspective I look at it, no matter what way I look at it, I am at a wall. I am at a stopping point. And this is where God goes, can you see me now? Can you hear me differently now? Can you trust me at a different level now? Can you understand me at a different level now? And I think that's where we're going with this. He wants us to have a deeper relationship with Him. He wants us to lean into Him more. He wants us to hear Him more. And all these times that He's met us where we're at, He's now asking us to meet Him where He's at. Because that's the balance. That was the compromise. He compromised coming down to us and bringing His only Son in a human form to teach us, to show us. So He made the ultimate sacrifice for us. So we are now at a point in our journeys, and we are now at a point in our walk that we understand when we say to God, lead, I am your vessel. It looks different now, doesn't it? That's the Bible. That's the God we're serving. I do not come at anybody with an ego and a pride in any of this. With anything, I'm coming to you with one of the most humble hearts I've ever had. Fucked up a lot. And I've hurt a lot of people in the process. And I own that. But somehow in all of this, God has mercy and grace that I do not yet understand. I urge you to keep going. Physically, mentally, and spiritually. Physically, I got hurt this week, and it brought me down, and I lost my job. Mentally, I am drained because I don't have a way out of this. Yet spiritually, I am heightening in ways that I do not yet understand. And I am trusting in a God that I cannot see, but in a faith that somewhere inside of me, the Holy Spirit is pulling out of me and saying, I just need you, yes, and I just need you to believe in me. And it is in a depth that I do not understand and in a way that I have not yet known. And I look crazy. I look 20,000 different ways to 20,000 different people, and I know this. In my vulnerability, I know this. Everything has a purpose. Everything we go through is for a reason and a season. There are pieces we can all start putting together. There are things we have now seen that we no longer can unsee. And there is a truth and there is a boldness that has now got to start being told in ways that we do not yet understand in our time and in our era. But can we all truly still stand here and say that there is no God? There only comes next the glory and the miracle in all of this. I don't know how else to explain this journey. But if I don't keep going, we're never going to know, are we? If you don't keep going, you're never going to know who you are. You're never going to know the gifts God has for you. You're never going to understand your purpose on earth as it is in heaven if you don't keep going. That is a strength and a courage that is not of you. Because you have never been here before. You are now watching something happening in real time in your life. And you either sit in your valley or you continue to climb because at some point you know you're going to be at the top of that mountain. And so this is the process. This is what you go through to do that, because you are saying to God, I am giving you my yes because I understand the process, so that when I get to the mountain, it comes with a humbleness because I understood this part of it. So much deeper, with so much more faith and so much more hope and so much more understanding than I had before. And a circumstance that looks way worse than it did before. That's God. This is all God. Go into your week with a new expectation of God. Go in a new week with a boldness and a strength within yourself to make some choices that you need to make in your life that you have either been denying, that you have been hesitating on, that you have been not wanting to do, because you're going to do it in a fear that you've never had. Because you have a fear of the Lord that you never had before. This is what the fear of the Lord looks like. Not in the fear of the Lord the way you think. This is the fear where you go, yes, sir. You go with a different respect. You go with a different honor. You go with a different grace. You go with a different humility. You go with a different understanding. You go with a different perspective, and you go with a different understanding that this has all got to be Him. And you no longer want to not listen. You no longer want to not do. You no longer want to miss any of this. And you really want to hold on and grasp the now. And so it's really hard. And this is where I'm going to call it a bunch of different ways. So please understand, we've been on this journey for a while. This is where they call it traveling. This is where they call it jumping timelines. This is where they call it going into the spiritual realm. You want to be here a lot because it's so much better, and it's so much lighter, and it's so much clearer, and you have such a better understanding. But when you come back here, you have a whole different perspective of that. Because you've seen stuff. You've heard things. You've read things. You've got knowledge. You understood more. You became wiser in your silence, in your moments, in your peace, in your prayer, in your meditation with God. So you crave that alone time with Him. But you have to figure out how to balance being alone and serving and spreading the gospel and being a disciple and having to go out and do that and evangelize and do it knowing what's here. And so that's a balance, and you have to say, okay, God, I'm done serving. It's time to go in silence. It's time to retreat. It's time to do what you need to do. I need to show you. I need you to learn. I need you to do. Okay, it's now time to serve. It's time for you to teach. It's time for you to show. It's time for you to do. Nurses work 12-hour shifts. Sometimes they work longer. Sometimes they do, and they're on their feet. And so to those people, they're saying to me, couldn't you just bandage that up and gone to work? Yes, I probably could have. But I also understood my pain. I understood my weakness in that moment when I said, God is, I need to rest my body for a second. Had I not done that, had I not shared that part, had I not done the testimony the way that I'm doing it, not knowing why I'm doing it, looking selfish in the moment, looking like a pity party in the moment, we wouldn't be where we are now for me to tell you that story, because that was all God's doing. But in those moments, we don't know that. And again, I still don't know what's happening. Yes, but I'm having a trust. I'm having a respect for God. I'm having a fear in the Lord that I am going to trust what's next, not knowing what that looks like. Because we're putting pieces together in this journey as we go. We're balancing on a bigger scale. We're setting boundaries on a bigger scale. This is making sense. I hope that this is helping people in your journeys. I am not doing this for any selfish reason, but to spread the word, to spread the good news, to show God, to do what we're being asked to do on earth. I don't know how else of an easier way to explain this, and I know that depending on where you are in your journey, this doesn't look easy. I know. I've been where you're at. I know. And this is where God says, keep going. This is where we're asking you to keep going. This is where people are saying, keep going. This is where we help each other. Keep going. Keep going. There's healing in it. There's love in it. There's another understanding. There's another perspective. There's a deeper level. There's a deeper understanding. There's a more knowledge. There's more learning. There's more growing in it. Whew. It's a hunger that I can't explain to you. It's a fire that makes you look crazy. I promise you I'm not crazy. I'm just healing. And I'm healing more and more. And I'm realizing how screwed up the churches are. And how much they have screwed the Bible up in the way that it's looked at. And how many people are being deceived. And church hurts. I get it. There isn't, where do you go? What do you do? You just become the church. Because there is no other alternative, and that's what the Bible says, is that we are to be the church. The buildings are there for fellowship. The buildings are there for you to learn, for you to grow. And I pray that you are all finding the right churches, and that you are learning, and that you are growing, and you are doing. And I really hope that there isn't religion that is involved in that. And that you're keeping your doors open for everybody and anybody. And that when you are preaching in an understanding that everybody can understand you in. And that you can combine, and you can take all your knowledge and everything that you have learned and everything that you are learning and teach people on different levels in different ways. So that they can heal. Because it's offered to everybody. And it's for everybody. This is so weird. I have never in my life been this open. I don't do this. I don't have a sermon in front of me. I don't have anything in front of me. I just came on. I'm just talking. But I'm putting all the pieces together of everything that I've been posting the past couple days. And I'm just putting it out there now. In my raw moments, in my vulnerability, in my real time, in my... I don't know how to explain this. Go into this week with new eyes, with new ears, with a more open heart, with a little bit more vulnerability in your circumstances. However, whether you're in the valley, the hills, or in the mountains. I'm in a hill. I was in the valley the past 2 days. I am now trying to climb up a hill, trying to get to the mountaintop, y'all. Not knowing what that's going to look like, but knowing that I have to do this. Knowing that I have to have a resilience and a perseverance, that I have to figure this out. And the only way that I'm going to do that is by looking up. The only way that I'm going to do that is by trusting God. The only way that I'm going to do that is hoping that the people that are ahead of me, that are in their future, are trusting God and they're listening and they're obeying and they're doing, so that this all aligns the way that God has planned. I don't know what else to say. He's in it. He's in the past. He's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. He's in this. It's funny because as I say some things, I start to just get a little bit more dizzy, and I go, "Oh, that was deep." It's like I'm ascending. I don't know how to explain that to you all. There's a video that I watched, and it's about. Now I know why we're going here. It was a video, and it talks about the chosen ones and the things that you go through as chosen ones. And I said that I have been going through menopause, and I said that. I only have night sweats. And one of the signs of one of the chosen ones is you go into night sweats. You ascend. You go into a deeper sleep, a deeper realm, a deeper understanding of something. But you may not be conscious. You're going into your unconscious. Unconscious. I can't say the words. I'm sorry. I'm not a millionaire at this. I'm not brilliant at this. I'm learning. And I go, is that what's happening? And I just think it's menopause, because you should get night sweats wherever you are, whatever's happening. I only usually get them when I'm sleeping. So I started to see that sign, and I went, okay, I'm going to pay attention to that a little bit more. One of the other signs is that you get a little bit of dizziness. You seem to kind of go into what's like an unclarity for a second. I've been doing that as I'm talking, because I'm realizing that as I'm talking to you, I as well am going deeper. But I'm ascending at the same time. And I feel it and I understand it, and I start to heat up. Like my body is getting hotter. Well, they start to call that the glory, God's glory. Your temperature changes. Some people feel cold. They usually say that when you're around somebody that's cold, it's not a good spirit. That's a discernment. They can feel it. They can feel the room. You can feel the atmosphere. When you're cold and when you're dark, and when light comes in, it pushes away the cold. It brings in the heat. It brings in the fire. It brings in the light. And the deeper that you go into your journey, and the more light you see, the more you do not allow your shadows to dictate you any longer. You sat with your dark side. You sat with your shadows. You sat with your cold heart to understand why you have a cold heart. Why are you seeing it that way? And in your healing, you shifted, but you can either shift deeper down or you can shift higher up. You have a choice on how you see your circumstance. This is who I am. This is how it's going to be. You're going to accept me for who I am. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. You become controlling. You have an ego. You are letting your pride in the way. You are digging into a hole and a cycle that you cannot get out of. And you can't figure out why you can't get out of it. So you just accept it for the way that it is. Do I need to explain this perspective to you now? Or are you starting to understand it? Take that for what you will on earth as it is in heaven. Look at the Lord's Prayer differently. She did the Lord's Prayer on elevation, and I went, this is brilliant. This is brilliant. The Lord's Prayer is between you and God. It's for you two to work out wherever you're at in the Lord's Prayer. You figure that out. You look at that differently. You just do it. Can't do it. I'm not singing it. It's not happening. I was gonna do it and I chickened out. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, the now, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Forever and ever is when you break the generational curse and your DNA and your souls are combining and you are saving the younger generations. Because your souls are connected. Your blood is connected. This is where science and spirituality come together. If you want to dig deeper, if you want to have a more understanding, this is where science says, I want to put the genealogy together of the Bible, and I want to see how this flows. You go deeper into the Bible. But when someone just says to you, you need to get up every morning and you need to read your Bible because that's what God is asking you to do, and you're doing it and there's no results and it's boring and you don't understand it, and you're looking at the Bible and you're going, this is stupid, or how was this help me? Your mindset is not there to read it. You have to get yourself into a mindset to read God's words differently. I don't get up immediately and open my Bible. That's not what I do. My alarm goes off and I hit snooze. And then I get up. Even when I'm not working, I set an alarm. Because I don't want to sleep my day away. That just means I get to have more time with God. So I get excited every morning about getting up because I know I'm going to learn something. I know He's going to show me something. I know He's going to do something in my chaos. I get up, like open my eyes, get up, and the first thing I do is thank God for waking up. Thank you, God, that I woke up to another day. Thank you, God, that you're going to give me a new mindset. You're going to give me a whole new way to look at things, a whole new perspective. Thank you, God, for the challenges that are going to come before me and the tests that you're going to put in front of me. I pray, God, that I pass these tests. I pray, God, that you clearly show me where I absolutely know and we can move quickly and swiftly, because that's what you're needing of me. Give me the energy and the strength and the courage to do what I need to do and not understanding Thank you. However you want, however long, wherever you're at in your journey, it just may be a thank God I'm awake and you crawl out of bed. You may only be there. I don't know where you're at in your journey. It doesn't matter. This is just, I'm telling you my perspective. I'm telling you how I do this. Then I get out of bed. I go to the bathroom. I mean, I'm a normal person, and then I get up and I make my coffee. And then, I don't lie, I get on my phone. And I get on my phone and I say, God, thank you. Show me what I need to see, because I am a visual person. So I don't get on my phone and look at all my stuff. I don't know how to explain that to you guys. Like, I just say, okay, God, what do you need to show me, or what do I need to see? And then he shows them to me, and then I'm posting them. And I think we're starting to kind of see that in this. And then I go, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Oh, that explains where I am now. Or, you know what I mean? And so then I want to know more. So then I spend time with God and I go, God, this verse, what are you saying in this? Like, tell me more. Like, where are we at in that? And then, believe it or not, sometimes he'll show me Chosen. And I'll see a Chosen thing and I'll go, oh, I remember that scene. Because I'm a visual person. I have to see it. And God says, I know that you need to see it. So I'm going to show you some things. But I'm going to keep some things from you. A, to protect you. And B, so you trust me and you lean on me. Because if I show you too much, if I give you too much, you'll go ahead of me and you'll fail. So I'm going to show you what you need to see. I'm going to share with you what you need to know. But I want you to follow me anyway. Not having all the pieces and not knowing everything yet. Can you balance that? Can you be in silence and hold your tongue when you need to hold your tongue? You write it in your journal. When he tells you to write it in your journal. Sometimes I know things, but I haven't wrote them in my journal yet because he hasn't told me to yet. Can I trust you with that? You don't know everything yet. You got some ideas in your head and in your mind because you changed your perspective. You changed the way you looked at it, and you trusted me in that thought process, and you put me first in what you are doing. It's getting hot in here and I need to turn the air on. Give me a second, guys. It's summer, it's humid out, well aware. Didn't have my air on and I suddenly have gotten hot. But it's humid and it's Texas. I'm well aware. So he's saying, can you change your mindset? Can you put me first in your mind? And there is a bee in my house. And your thoughts. And can you do what needs to be done? There's a meaning to bees. I'm just going to put that out there. And you all can research the meaning of bees yourself. We've talked about bees before. And the idea of what a bee is. But I don't want it in my house, so I am killing it. Yes, I know. I'm sorry, God. I don't know what else to do with this bee. I can't even get it anyway. Whatever. Griffy, get the bee. So, he's asking you, can you change your mindset? Can you do this differently? Can you follow me? Can you remember my words? Can you just lean into my words and say them over and over again if that's what you need to do to get yourself out of this? And at the same time, in those moments where you have to say those words over and over again, you have to go back to those verses, you have to remember those things, you have to reflect back in the Bible differently in the circumstances you're in now, right? But you've been here before, but you're just doing it differently now. So maybe, and I've talked about that you start with a word or you start with a verse and then you want to know more and you want to know more. Well, I want to learn more. I want to know more about the Bible. I don't necessarily want to sit here and just read the Bible. I need to start putting pieces together. I need to have a better understanding of the Bible. And so I need different perspectives. I need different understandings of the Bible so that I can understand on a deeper level of the Bible. So until I understand other people's beliefs, until I start to see how they're seeing things, then I'll go back and go, I want to see that biblically. But now I can watch something and I can hear what they're saying biblically. And I believe that most of you can now too. This is where we start to take out judgment. This is where we start to take out our religion. And when you're protected by God, you can go into a war zone, or what you can go into what people say is demonic, or you can, and sometimes it is. I'm not saying it's not. Please understand that. But you learn to discern what is and what isn't of God as you go. And you get tested along the way. Because you go to a new level and a new devil, and the sheep's in wool's clothing get better. I learned something about that this week in a mega church. There were great things about the leadership that I learned, and then I learned something about the great leadership that I didn't like. But that isn't for me to judge, and that isn't for me to fight, and that isn't for me. I went, okay, God, I am not going to, because I'm going to make myself look worse if I fight this. If I try to go in my own strength, it won't be received right. He's the boss. He's the authority. He's the one. He let me go. And so I have to say, okay. When God shuts a door, I have to say, okay. I don't question it. There's a reason for it. Is there a justification? Should there be justice in there? Absolutely. There probably should be. I'll wait to see how that goes. I'll wait to see maybe the justice that comes in that has nothing to do with me. Maybe I was a lesson in something, or I'm going to be a lesson in something. I'm going to be a seed in something. I don't know. I don't know. Do you understand that? All I know is to control myself, my self-control in the situation. All I know is to learn what I needed to learn from this, from my perspective, what I needed to do for myself in that moment, and how I handled those moments. That's all I can control, is every moment. But the quicker I learn, the better understanding that I have, the better discernment I will get spiritually. It's a process. It's in God's timing. Everything we do in our journey is for a reason, in a season, and for a purpose. Some we do not yet know. I'm going to stop. It's been an hour. I love you all. Go into this week with a new perspective of the Bible, of God, of the people around you. With a better understanding of what people are going through. We're all in this together, you guys. Some way, somehow, we're just going to keep going. Love ya.